Are you someone who has been going through a lot of change and feeling a lot of emotions coming up? A lot of inner turbulence, just a lot of, whether that can be showing up in relationships and conversations, in work dynamics, in finances, all these different challenges are coming to the surface to be able to help reveal some information and some data. And I have some good news for you if you've been feeling challenged. This period, this energetic period going collectively on in the world, is softening to allow the lessons and the challenges that you have received over these past few weeks and also months, but particularly we're going to zoom into the past few weeks. Take a look back at the last 2 weeks of what you've done, who you've been yourself, who you've encountered, what challenges you have encountered, because those challenges are there for a reason. And those challenges, what they have done is we're going to give you this visual. So for the record, I am in the Akashic Records, and we're getting some visuals dropped in. Specifically, because today what we want to do is we want for you to understand change, but we also want you to understand how this change is something that doesn't hold you back and doesn't limit you, but instead it allows you to open up to more layers of yourself. And while change is a constant in life, constantly, we are here to, we want the ultimate goal of life is we want you to feel very comfortable with change. Because we know it's a constant. Every day you wake up, every moment changes. The people you interact with change. You change yourself. And so these past few weeks, if you have been feeling this level of turbulence around change, it's okay. Also, I'm sure you have revealed a lot of different layers within yourself. And so today what we are going to do, first off, change. Let's do a little mental reframe to what this is. Next off, we'll go with how do you actually proceed with your normal life now that you have these new layers and this new information in your body after going through the changes that you have and the challenges that you have experienced. We want to remind you that you've been tested during this time and you've made it out on top. So congratulations. You have made it. And now that you have made it, you are stronger within it, which is why we are now able to reflect back on the journey that you have gone on to become the human that you are in this moment. All of the human that you are in this moment. So take a moment to celebrate yourself. You have more data, more information, you know more about yourself. And with that, with changes, what you have been experiencing. We would like to transfer over this metaphor for you. And this metaphor is around, I don't have it before me, but we're going to use this tea as an example. We want to visualize this as a seltzer. So when you pop a seltzer, how you get the bubbles that stir up. Well, those bubbles that were in there, they were always in the jar, in the container. They were sealed by pressure. And when you pop the lid, some come out. And the thing is, these bubbles, carbon dioxide has been inside of the jar, inside of the can for all of the entire time. And so the change that you are experiencing in your body today are those bubbles, the fizz that lives in the bottle. It's always been there. It's always been tucked away. But there was something in your life that you said, I invite this depth. I invite myself to be able to play with the different depths and the different bubbles and the different layers that live within myself and in my gut today. And so when we have been experiencing change and turbulence in our life, in moments where we feel really tested, whether that has been in relationships and communication, in finance, in opportunities, wondering what's going to be around the next corner, what we are doing is inviting up those fears, those concerns, the layers that have always lived within us that may have been trapped away from past memories. And we're saying, today in this moment, I don't know what it is, but this feeling, this thing is bubbling up to the surface within me. And so you feel the bubbles coming to the surface. And the bubbles that are coming to the surface in your body are those memories, those fears, those things where you're like, can I go to the next level? Am I really this powerful? Can I really hold this opportunity? Can I really hold this relationship dynamic? This is the bubbles that come up to the surface. And we want to remind you that these bubbles, the fizzing, are the layers that have always lived within you. And so you question it. But we're like, remember, these layers, these things, they've always lived within you. So please don't question the layers. Don't doubt them. Because when the change and the testing is coming up for you to be able to test yourself, to be like, is it actually there? You get to then test yourself, play with it, and see like what's actually there. Okay, so the bubbles, the carbon dioxide, the seltzer that is bubbling up is ultimately you feeling a different layer of yourself and saying, all right, so this change is coming up. How is it integrating into my body? How is it showing up in reality? Yada, 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 so on and so forth. So you get it. The layers that we are tested with are what come to the surface. And so similar to those bubbles, it can feel very jarring at moments because you're like trying to like fit the bubbles into your body and you're like, but I don't want these bubbles to come up to the surface. And the more that we resist the bubbles, the more that we resist the fizz of the carbon dioxide, that's like the change that's going on in our reality. And so they're asking us, we're being asked, like, don't resist. When you resist, that's what persists. It's like you keep pushing the bubbles down and they're like, but we just want to float to the surface. And you're like, no, but I just want to push them down. And they're like, we're coming to the surface whether you like it or not. And so when we resist the change, that's when the change and the challenge becomes even more tested in our body. And we're like pushing the bubbles down, we're pushing them down. And they're like, we're coming up regardless. And that's where we feel like when we have conflicts in relationships, when we have these parts of ourselves where we're like, I can't be this because I'm that. These inner conflicts come up. And so we're reminding you and we're showing you that like change is natural and normal. And the more that we resist it, the more that things persist. So there's a spectrum here that we want to present forth, and that is the allowing versus the resisting. So just notice if you're like really resisting it, there's a reason for that. And if you want the easier way is to soften and to allow it to happen. And it can sound quite easy to just allow and just allow and just allow, but that's where the real muscle is built here. So we just wanted to bring that up. Allowing is the ultimate gift to allow a change to transform with you in a more ease-filled way. And what allowing might do is might be allowing more emotions to come through you. So anyways, now that we have been presented with what change truly is, we want to build upon change here. And so now in this human form, in this moment, you are experiencing yourself in a very upgraded level, in a new edition where you're like, finally, we picked up some more lessons. We're moving them into the body. We can see more things. We can now speak clearer. We know what we want. We have cleared out some relationships, and sometimes we're still like, we haven't fully spoken about the things. So now what do we do going forward with this new change and the new tests that we have passed in our world? Okay, so what we would like for you to do is to be able to see these changes as information and as data. And so the information that you have received during these turbulent times helps you lead yourself through the next phase. Because remember, this is all information that has already lived within you. It's already been there. We're not revealing anything new. We're simply allowing those bubbles to come to the surface. You have tested yourself. You have played out with different energies in the world, whether that's people dynamics, conversations, work things. Things have come up. And now what you have done is it's like you've gone through the battle, and now you know more about yourself. You have more information. You have discovered new layers that live within. And you know what you do with that? That discovery means that you now have more information around what you want and what you don't want. You now have more information around what feels good for you and what doesn't feel good for you. You now have more information around what you are calling in the future and what you don't. And so remember to start to play with this, start to look back over the past few weeks. Yes, things may have been hard. We can let go of things having to constantly be hard. And instead we can say, from a more objective lens, what have I gathered over these past few weeks? What types of people do I like being around? How do I like to feel? What am I calling in for future partnerships or future work dynamics? What type of life do I actually want to live? And how is my life not working out right now? And so we want to use like an example of like going on a bad date, like a bad first date, where you're like, or even like a bad third date, where you're like, oh, but I invested all this time and energy into this person. And I start to like open up my heart in certain ways. And wait, it didn't work out. Oh my God, I'm so foolish. How could I have allowed myself to like fall for this type of person again? Oh. And they're like, that's one dynamic that we could go down, is you could like shame yourself and just be like, how dare I fall down that rabbit hole again? But we also want you to take a look. We're like, give yourself that moment that you need to be able to process. And through that moment, so we are now on the other side of it, where we're able to be like, now that you've processed the emotions, we want you to extract what information you have received from the change, from the challenge, from being tested. What have you discovered about yourself? Oh, you've discovered that, let's say per se, you don't want a relationship at all. Oh, you're looking for these different qualities. Oh, you're looking for these types of opportunities. Take the good. Take also the things that are like, no, I don't want that. And now you're like, I know what I'm actually calling forth and what I'm calling in. So now that you're more clear, we want to wrap this up and bring this forth. Now that you're more clear with what you want, take those data points, because what those data points do is they act as fuel in your body for you to call in more of the things that you genuinely want in your life. It's quite plain and simple. We want to keep it all on the energetic perspective. As you have now moved through things, you are now more clear about yourself. And when you have clarity and confidence, that is the greatest fuel to be able to attract in what you actually want in your life. So often we test you, humans, with different levels and different layers, for you just to be able to understand and be able to communicate, like, this is what I want. Clear, plain, point blank. No noise chatter going back and forth. It's just, this is what I want. And so if you can get yourself to that place of like, I don't need to know the whole picture, but I know certain dynamics. I know I want this. This wanting and this knowing is what will then lead you into the next level. So we have 3 steps. You have just gone through the turbulence and through the change. Now you're at this point where the turbulence and the change and the testing it's subsided. Guys, we want to celebrate you and commend you. It's gone. And the 3rd step and the final step is now what we do with it moving forward in the future. And so you're still like, I want to climb and I want to get higher. And we're like, yes, you are perfectly on track for doing that. But what you need to do from this in this moment is remember and celebrate the data that you have received by going through the changes, the levels and layers that have been revealed to yourself, the ways that you have changed your operating system so that you can now operate in a higher frequency in a way that is communicating with what you actually want. So remember, these changes and these challenges do not go unnoticed. We want to celebrate you for that. And with that, I'm offering one-on-one sessions of soul chats and life engineering. So if you are going through a crossroads in your life and you specifically you are still struggling, if you would like to chat more about the changes that are going on in your reality, I'm here for you. I also offer 1-month mentorship, and those are for people who just want to grow to the next level and grow deeper into themselves, but then also connect with the people in their life that the way that they actually genuinely want to connect with people. So this is connecting yourself to deeper layers of yourself. Thank you so much for being here. I have a feeling we will be doing these somewhat regularly. The energy is just feeling so intense and so alive, and I love having all of you here on these lives. So stay tuned, more is coming. Also feel free to drop in any questions of other topics that you would love for me to channel in the collective. I love nerding out around playing in the record hall of the universe. So any questions you got, bring it on. Let's play in that space. Sending you big love, and I'll see you next time.